So now at the moment, quite a lot of you are working towards your craft to writing and reading to write assessments, but this is also still relevant for those of you in younger years who are doing persuasive, discursive or creative writing or imaginative writing. So one of the things I wanted to just talk about is just a tip on how you can make your writing not only a lot more appealing to your marker, but also something that will relate a lot better to the actual questions you are given, whether it's a hand-in task or something they're going to ask you on the spot. So one of the things markers really want to see at the moment is they want you to incorporate a motif which shows the development of some kind of composition. So what I mean by composition is that perhaps the character is reflecting on the process of writing something or creating music or painting. And so with reflecting on those particular compositional or having those motifs, what will happen is that should track your character's development. So for example, you might start off with a person who is playing the piano, and maybe they're using their piano playing and maybe they're creating a particular piece or whatever as a reflection of something that they're dealing with in their lives. And maybe they're going through some grief, or they've lost a relationship, or they're, just really obsessed with making something super perfect in maybe this compositional standpoint, but maybe there's a relationship that's being lost as a result of that, let's say. And then what could happen is as the story progresses and as the character has a particular realization, which is another thing that they really like seeing in stories, that the character develops in some way, that too could be reflected through that particular motif. So if we go back to the music one, the piano playing maybe initially is very bold and frustrated and it's very loud, and maybe there's a particular piece you could research that actually reflects or needs to be played in that kind of way. And then maybe towards the end, after the character's developed and some kind of transformations happen, maybe there's something that changes in the way that they're playing the piano. So that's one example of music, but you could use that in lots of different ways. So let's say you were doing poetry writing, or you were journaling or something or other, so maybe, so again, incorporating, what you're writing about. I don't know, maybe you could be doing a story about a mum who used to do lots of writing and had lots of time for self-reflection, but then, upon having dependents and things, then didn't necessarily have that same time, so you could sort of highlight the frustration and the stress of, potentially not having that access to previous ability to express themselves, let's say. Totally hypothetical here, just giving real life examples, of how you can incorporate these things. In terms of a discursive, that's a little bit different. The ones I gave as examples were maybe a little bit more creative, but a discursive one, if you're talking about the idea of a language, you could be talking about, a particular social issue where there's particular language created around certain things. So, let's say gender roles, that might be something you want to talk about. There's as a very specific example, but again, it's more specific, and you can get the better with these sorts of things because it's a bit more interesting and more real. There was, research done about the fact that women, for example, use more exclamations, and there's a particular different style of writing that they have, as opposed to more masculine ways of communicating. So, that's a very, it's just one example of how, again, you could incorporate the idea of writing in and of itself, or, creation of any real thing. Could be a drama, could be, anyway, lots of things. They love that in the stories that, or, the pieces that you write for these modules. And then, if you think about what the actual modules are called, reading to write, craft of writing, that this motif, or what I'm telling you here, is it's really going to help you encapsulate what they're looking for in this module. And a lot of the questions that are asked are based on these kind of in these particular ways. So you might see lots of stimulus quotes about the power of language and things like that. So it'll just really also help you when you're under exam conditions, have something that is much more likely to work, regardless of what the different kind of question is, but also shows a level of sophistication and understanding about the actual process of crafting something, which is what they're looking for at the end of the day.